is that if the ruling class, which is held for so long that we do not need this national conference, has finally come to say, maybe we do after all, a host of people are wondering, what exactly is informing this? Shouldn't we be bothered about that?
The majority of Nigerian leaders are dishonest. What they say in the public domain is different from, I'm not clairvoyant, but some of them that we meet in private conversations do know that this is a journey to nowhere. But because they are in government, because their nest must be feathered, because they are interested in lining their pockets, because they are careerists, they won't hit the nail on the head. But it will come to a time. I mean, Nigeria's capacity is diminished.
By?
We can't enforce our laws, can we? Infrastructures are comatose. Universities, educational system that is supposed to be the bedrock. I mean, you know the state. I wonder what the future of this country will be when you have a largely illiterate population. That's an albatross. And therefore, you must find a way of... When we had the 3 regions, things were not like this, for goodness sake. Those were the golden years. I've always asked this question, and it bears repetition. You don't know Nigeria more than an Awolowo or Mayuro, or a Nauru, or even the British colonialists.
Why do you say so?
Because they came for a purpose. In 1940, the amalgamation was not done in order for Nigerians to prosper at that material time. It was a trendy concept. How do we govern this large space in order for us to maximize profit? In some other parts, they have personnel. In another part, they don't have. Let's get money from here to administer the other place. Now, if people who are not Nigerians amalgamated us, if people who are not Nigerians give us constitution that recognized autonomy and limited government, that allowed Awolowo to perform the miracles in Western region, spending 24.6% of his budget on recurrent expenditure, as opposed to 72% that we are spending now. This is madness. It can't work.
Your optimism is infectious, but you know, a host of people are saying that this national conference, perhaps we shouldn't be too optimistic, because it's not some magic wand that is going to solve all our problems.
It will not be a... Look, the richest country in the world still faces challenges. But they have laid the foundation for economic development, social justice, the well-being of the citizens. The arrangement we have now is doing greatest evil to the greatest number of our people, whereas it's supposed to do the greatest good to the greatest number. When you spend 72% of your proceeds or revenue on recurrent expenditure on less than 20% of the population, and you spend 24%, as the case may be, on 90% of the people, it doesn't add up.
And that's because of the Constitution?
Of course, yes. Because the federal government is bloated. 68 items on the exclusive list. That's why its primary responsibility, the federal government is sacking from it. Aviation, will anybody talk about state owning or regulating aviation? But because they dabble into cassava bread, primary education, they have abandoned their core businesses, and therefore they are becoming incompetent.
What is their core business?
The core business of the federal government is defense, foreign policy, monetary policy, aviation. They mustn't have more than 10 duties. You can only develop a country from the bottom to the top. As in Brazil, 5,564 municipalities, local governments. Therefore, development will ensue from the precinct, from the fringes, and come up, as opposed to development from the center. That's why development, you can't determine what will happen in my local government from Abuja. Do you know it?
Give us your perspective on those who have this fear of the way Eritrea emerged, the way South Sudan emerged, thinking that if you have this conference, it will eventually become a sovereign conference of sort, and that fear for them is very palpable.
Let me disagree. People who are contending that you cannot have a sovereign national conference, with due respect to them, have poor understanding of politics. I read all of this in secondary school and A-levels. Apadorai, substance of politics by Apadorai. Sovereignty is the overwhelming power in a country, in a society, and it resides with the people. Never can you take it away from them. They can give you a mandate, renewable. So to say that because you have National Assembly, you are President of Nigeria, if you set up a conference imbued with sovereign power, you'll be having two sovereignties. That's balderdash, hogwash. You will still retain your power to spend money extravagantly. You will still retain your power to continue to make laws. You will still retain your powers to run the day-to-day activities of government. But the conference will not dabble into that. It will just come up with a draft resolutions. And we are saying those resolutions must not be subject to whims and caprices of any organ of government. That is as far as the sovereign nature or sovereign power of that conference can go.
Even in its implementation.
The conference can't implement its decisions. It will be the government. Nobody is contesting the power of the government, executive, legislative, judicial.
What about the fear for disintegration?
You see, from my experience, Ponaco experience, Nigerians want to live together. But on what terms? But the more you deny them the opportunity of sitting down to discuss, for goodness sake, if in Yobe State, what is important is that they don't want Western education, allow them. Allow Lagos, Ogun, Delta, or states who value education to control their affairs. The problem of education in Nigeria started when the federal government that did not owe anything appropriated everything. That is stealing. Allow regions to control universities in their domain. With all the regions embark on strike at the same time.
But they still do. They've got, oh, you mean including the federal ones?
Yes. Federal government is an artificial government. It is nobody, it's not attached to anybody. We create it. It can't not lord itself over us. Okay?
That is speaking ideally.
It is not. No. It is not that. What is happening in India? And I wonder why people say it is ideal when other countries practice it. In India, Uttar Pradesh has a population of 200 million people, and it's a state bigger than Nigeria. It has its education policy. It has its policy on agriculture. Because they are different people. Pakistan, because of the nature of the place, you can say don't cite an example, but as popular as the family of Bhutto was and still is, they never won in the area controlled by Nawaz Sharif, who has become the prime minister. Germany, Angela Merkel is ruling by forming a coalition. Britain, the British people did not trust the conservative government, neither did they trust the Labour government, and therefore voted in such a way that no single party can form government, and Lib Dem and Conservative formed an alliance. So when people talk about ideology, I look at them. What ideology are you talking about? The world has moved beyond it. Now coming back home to this issue of conference, for me it is easy. People who don't understand may say that it will lead to disintegration. No. Nobody wants to leave Nigeria for as long as there's equity, justice. But the moment you perceive injustice, that a state that ought not to have more than 20 local government has 50 local government,